Hello, hello, it's Miss T. Harris. Go ahead and grab paper and pencil and we'll get started in just a second. Today is week 12, Monday, November 16th, 2020. All right, this is chapter 8, section 4 in your volume 2 math workbook. We are finding the volume of spheres. We're going to begin on page 437. First of all, what is a sphere? A sphere can be described as a round three-dimensional figure where every point on its surface is the same distance from its center. The volume formula we're going to use to find the volume of a sphere is V equals 4/3 times pi times the radius to the third power. That's V equals 4/3 times pi times the radius to the third power. All right, so the pi symbol, we know the pi symbol. This is the pi symbol, and R is still radius. Radius can be defined as half of the diameter. In the lower left corner of the screen, you're going to find a demonstration that explains how the volume of a sphere relates to the volume of a cone. It could be determined that it takes the volume of 2 cones to completely fill the volume of a sphere, as long as both shapes have the same radius and the same height. All right, moving right along, you're going to find the 8th grade math sheet, reference sheet that you're going to be using on the 8th grade math state test. Do you have to memorize the formulas? Only if you want to. Moreover, at the bottom of the screen, you will find all of the volume formulas that we've already discussed. The first volume formula you're going to find is the volume of a cylinder, the volume of a cone, and the volume formula that we're going to use today, which is the volume of the sphere. All right, moving right along. How will we find the volume of a sphere? How can we find the volume of a sphere? Well, first of all, what we're going to do is write the formula. You're going to want to do this every single time. Write the formula, and then after you write the formula, we'll substitute the values for each variable. We'll substitute the values for each variable within the formula. All right, moving right along. Last but not least, we'll simplify. And this is where we can use our handy dandy calculator to find what the variable that, whether we're finding the volume or whether we're finding the radius. All right, we'll simplify. Okay, so now I want you to take out your volume 2 math workbook. We're going to turn to page 438, and we're going to look at the bottom and find the first try it problem. All right, it says, what is the volume of a ball with a diameter of 6 centimeters? Use 3.14 for pi. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at this. We need to first figure out what type of shape are we dealing with. All right, so the volume of a ball, we know that a ball is the shape of a sphere. So we're going to first do step 1, which is write the formula. The formula for a sphere is V equals 4/3 times pi times the radius to the third power. You'll want to write the formula every time. Now we will do step 2, which is substitute the values of each variable. We'll substitute the values of each variable. All right, so I have my V. I'm going to bring down the V. V equals, we have 4/3. We'll bring that on down. Pi, they told us to use 3.14, so we're going to put that in parentheses, 3.14. And the radius. Now let me go back to the problem. The volume of a ball with the diameter of 6. I don't see the radius, but I have the diameter. So out to the side, I'm going to have to do an extra step. I need to go and find the radius since I'm only given the diameter. All right, so I see that the diameter equals 6. And in order to find the radius, I will need to divide the diameter in half. So I'll do 6 divided by 2. That'll give me 3. Therefore, my radius is 3, and I can now substitute that 3 for R. And don't forget the cube. Don't forget the third power. Ladies and gentlemen, at this step, this is the moment where you can go through and you can use your handy dandy calculator to simplify. On the left side of the equal sign, you can just bring down this V. On the right side of the equal sign, you can go ahead and key in all of this from left to right into your scientific calculator. Will key in the 4/3. Then we'll multiply 3.14, or literally just put it in parentheses just as you see it. And then we'll raise it to the 3rd power. You'll want to make your problem look exactly as you see it on the calculator. I was left with 113.04. And I'm sure your assessment is going to have you rounding to the nearest hundredth. Therefore, we look, and the nearest hundred means we have 2 decimal places. As you can see, once I multiplied, I'm left with my 2 decimal places. And I can check my units. My units, the diameter was 6 centimeters, so the units will be centimeters. And since we're looking for the volume, we know that the volume is measured in cubic centimeters. So my final answer is V equals 113 and 400 cubic centimeters. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give you about 60 seconds to attempt a problem on your own. All right, take a moment, find the page, find the problem. You may begin. Well, alrighty, that's our 60 seconds. Let's check your work. First thing you should have done was written your formula. After you've written your formula, you should have substituted your values as shown. And last but not least, step 3, you should have simplified. Your final answer should have been 113.04 cubic inches. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job. Well, all right, ladies and gentlemen, this will be our last example for today. Page 441, we're going to take a look at number 11. A sphere has a volume of 1,837 and 3,500 cubic centimeters. What is the radius of the sphere? Use 3.14 for pi and round to the nearest tenth. All right, so first things first, we're going to write the formula. Our formula is V equals 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. After we write our formula, we're going to go in and substitute the values. Well, the first value I see is 1,837.35 cubic centimeters. We're going to substitute this into V for volume because it said it's a volume of 1,837.35 cubic centimeters. So that's our volume. Bring down our equal sign. We'll bring down our fraction 4/3. We're going to use 3.14 for pi. And the radius. Now the radius, that is what we're looking for. We are looking for the radius in this problem. We're looking for the radius, so we're going to bring down the r to the 3rd power. Now we need to simplify. So on the left side of the equal sign, all I see is this decimal, so we're going to just bring it right on down. On the right side of the equal sign, we will simplify. We'll simplify by multiplying 4/3 times 3.14. And this I'm going to end with 4.186 I always like to write at least the first 3 decimal places. I like to write the whole number along with the first 3 numbers on the right side of the decimal. And then we can bring down the r to the 3rd power. Now, in order to isolate that r, in order to isolate the radius, we're going to have to divide both sides. We got to use inverse operations and divide both sides by 4.186. I will cross out our pairs. And now I'm going to key in 1,000. The left side of the equal sign, I got to simplify it. So I'm going to key in 1,837.35 and divide that by 4.186. And I ended up with 438. And I'm going to write the first 3 decimal places. 0.927 equals, and then we're going to bring down the r to the 3rd power. Here's the question: are we done? Are we done? And the answer to that is no. No, we are not done, because the radius is not alone. This time the radius is raised to the 3rd power. The radius is cubed. So in order to undo the cube, we got to do the inverse. And the inverse of a cube is to do the cube root. So we will do the cube root of both sides, and that will eliminate the cube, the 3rd power. All right, so if I key in the cube root of 438.927, I will be left with 7.599 equals r. Remember, I told you I like writing the first 3 numbers on the right side of the decimal. Here are directions asked us to round to the nearest 10th. All right, so we're going to go ahead and round to the nearest 10th. The 5 is in the 10th place, so the 9 next door is going to make the 5 round up. So the 5 will change to 6, keep the decimal, keep the 7, and the radius will just be centimeters. And here's my answer. My answer is 7.6 centimeters. My radius is 7.6 centimeters. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I want you to use these 3 examples to complete today's assessment. If you have any questions, feel free to email me or inbox me on Canvas. Remember that Miss Harris loves you all so much. Toodles. Mwah.